The youth of today. To many we are strange, an uncomfortable section of society. Why? Because we are suspicious? Because we have our own scene, our own music? Because we want a new concept of morality, which is free from lies? This is us, the girls of today. We are curious, and we are honest with ourselves, where the adults have lied too much.
Hey, Fitz, watch it. Your sausage is burning.
Well, it's my own sausage, so I can burn it as often as I've a mind for it. It's a bit like our history teacher, sizzling outwardly, sawdust inside.
What else would anyone expect of a sausage, anyway?
Now you're asking. Just think of all the things sausages are good for.
Sure, for eating.
Yes, that too, for once.
This film is based on the records of the sexual report by Günther Hunold. We have supplemented them by many additional inquiries. Thus, a documentation has been achieved which is revolutionary in its effect, in its spontaneous appeal. It shows how a lot of young people of today really are. It proves that our girls consider the new sexual morality as a substantial part of their self-assertion. This film will open the eyes of many parents because it really shows what parents find incredible.
Quickly now.
Careful there. You need to pay attention.
Yes, I'll see to it.
I'm Engineer Hoffman. I'm to conduct the tour.
Thank you. These are my girls.
A fine group of young ladies.
Hey, I could go for him, all right.
An old wreck like that? Why, you must be utterly crazy, Karen. Come along now.
Silence, please.
This is Mr. Hoffman, who has been kind enough to offer to take you on a tour of the power plants and to explain the technical aspects to you. And as to the physical connections and their application, I'll refer back to it in class, so everybody should take careful note of them.
Good afternoon, young ladies.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hoffman.
And if there's anything you don't understand or wish to know, then please ask.
Are you married, Mr. Hoffman?
Well, when I see such attractive young women, I'm sorry to say, yes, I am. Now, if you're ready, Doctor. But first I must provide everybody with a safety helmet for protection. See, not all things which come from above are necessarily good. This way, please.
Please see that the girls don't fool about, Miss Royer.
No talking.
We'll start over here, please. I will then take you stage by stage through the plant, and until we reach the ultimate point, the output of the electricity, the lifeblood of industry, and indeed a vital necessity.
Gita, have you seen Renata?
Renata? Is she somewhere in the front there?
She's not, that's just it.
Room here for you young lady.
Where's Renata?
That's it. A cup of tea here.
Where's Renata?
You're all assembled. I'll come in. Thank you.
Who is it? Renata, what brought you here?
I don't need to tell you, do I?
Excuse me, I'm Mr. Hoffman. I'll have to go back and look for that child.
Oh, well, at least she's not smart enough to get lost. She'll be back.
Renata.
With a person you don't even know, quite aside from the question of morality.
Isn't a year long enough to know a boy then?
Renata, are you in love with this young man?
I don't see why it's necessary to call it love because two people occasionally sleep together.
I wonder if you realize what you're saying, child.
I'm no longer a child, Dr. Fox. A fact you haven't yet grasped. I'm 18 years old now, and I live in the 20th century, and what I've done of my own free will, is purely my concern.
There is no need to be impudent, young lady. May I remind you, first, that this awkward incident took place during an excursion, an official school function of all things. The other point is that the school's faculty have a duty to perform, to educate.
Educate? What exactly do you think it means, this duty to educate us? Just that you should cram me with your respective subject and leave it at that. What I do in private is my own concern.
That is ungrateful, Renata. The headmaster and I are only trying to advise you, to help you.
How can you help when neither of you understands? You're talking about love, and I'm talking of sex.
Renata, you are a very intelligent young lady. However, if you continue to use your intelligence to rebel against orderliness and clean living, I have to tell you with regret you will no longer fit in with the rest of us. You'll be a bad example, a danger to the girl's morals, and I will not tolerate it.
May I go now?
Please yourself, I can't stop you. But you will have to bear the consequences. And the consequences are to be expelled from school. I am sure you will understand, members of the Parents' Council, that as head of this school, and responsible for its high reputation and fine record, I had no choice but to put forward this regrettable request. Nevertheless, in spite of this, in spite of all I have said, that is, I'm prepared to listen to your views before final submission to the Board of Governors and the Ministry. After all, I mean, to be expelled from school is, as we all know, an extremely harsh punishment, and we have to remember that this girl is, without any doubt, a most capable pupil, and that she'll be taking her final exams in the near future.
She can do that at another school.
I would hardly think so. The other school will know about it. They'd be sure to turn down her application.
Perhaps the boarding school.
It's out of the question. I don't think Renata's parents could afford the fee.
She should have thought of that earlier. It's just unwarranted sentimentality.
I entirely agree. Are we parents going to close our eyes to this new morality, which I call immorality, and in so doing leave our daughters to be led astray?
Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't getting us anywhere. I don't mind admitting that I think the girl, Renata Wolf, was unlucky, to say the least. She simply had the misfortune to be caught at that precise moment by a conscientious, overzealous schoolmistress. That is the only thing which distinguishes her from her fellow pupils.
I most strongly protest.
Please forgive me. What I should have told you when I introduced you earlier was that Dr. Harold Bernauer, Dr. Bernauer is a child psychologist. He's got a very large and very varied experience of these...
I found out that a damn good kick in the you-know-what is the best psychology.
Well, here. I'd say most parents would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't think you're right. The young people of today think much more independently in matters of sex than you believe. And whether we parents accept it or not, our children do not just talk about sex, they practice it too. We all still live with a sexual morality which is long since outdated. Even the fact that a large proportion of public authorities adamantly refuse to abandon such logically unacceptable principles won't change that. I refer to state, church, and school. Their ideas of morality are no longer in accord with the results of modern scientific research. I myself have carried out a series of investigations, or had my assistants do so. I'll show you the results of some. What do you actually think when you see such an advertisement?
It's nothing to do with you at all, whatever I think.
That advertisement was basically designed to get the reader to think something, you know.
Is it one of yours?
No.
Why do you ask then? You wouldn't be trying to pick me up, would you? That routine's as old as Methuselah.
Then the answer is no?
The answer's no.
Very well. When you see that, what do you think of?
Honestly, do you really want to know that? All right, of my own stepfather.
Oh?
There, you see, I've shocked you.
No, I'm not shocked. It pleases me that you're honest, Barbara. Would you like to tell me why that reminds you of your stepfather?
Well, I don't know exactly.
Do you have any problems at all?
With the police, yes.
Do you have a reason?
Yes, they interfere in nearly all I do.
For example?
I can't have fun, you see. I must be out of the bar by 9:30. I mustn't drink alcohol. I'm fed up with it.
But couldn't it be to your advantage?
Shit. Excuse the expression. What's it to do with the police if I want to dance till 11? It amuses me. So what right do they have to interfere?
Tell me, how old are you, Barbara?
15. Next month I'll be 16.
By the way, what's your father like?
Oh, you mean my stepfather? I was 3 years old when my father died. Then when I was 5, my mother married again. We live in a 3-room apartment on the edge of town. I always take the bus to school. I'm in the 9th grade, non-classical, or something like an intermediate school.
Do you like going to school?
No.
You're home. Are you happy there?
Yes, if only my mother wasn't so crazy jealous.
Of whom?
Of me. You see, Mac, he's my stepfather. Mac is always very loving towards me. I mean, he's never acted like I think a real father would to me. He's more like a kind of older brother, or sometimes a boyfriend. You see, he often caresses me.
And how do you react to that?
Well, just as any woman reacts to that sort of thing. You know, even when I was a child, I was always fond of caressing. I can't remember exactly when things really got going between us. I should think when I was about 12.
Didn't you have any pangs of conscience?
What do you mean by pangs of conscience? One starts to play, one plays, and suddenly it happens. What does that have to do with pangs of conscience?
Well, then who seduced whom?
I suppose if I'm honest about it, well, I think I probably started the game. While bathing and so on. That's when I suddenly noticed that got him going pretty well. Do you give me a cigarette?
Of course.
It was at the time when I had a slight cold, so they decided to move my bed into their room. There's quite a lot to learn if one stays awake in one's parents' room. I mean, honestly, they were really going full out. They'd forgotten all about me, of course. It got me very excited, I can tell you. Oh, well, anyway, why should I pretend to you? So I did it to myself then. Anyway, next day I went to Mac and said, I want you to do the same thing to me you did for my mother. And he laughed and kissed me. You know how it is. And then it happened. If you ask me, it's already beginning to turn sour. My mother and I are always quarreling. Only a few days ago, my mother told me she'd like to finish it all and go to the police. If anyone goes to the police, then it will be me. That's what I told her. That shook her. But as long as Mac does what I want, well, it'll be foolish.
That sounds a little like blackmail.
Yes, perhaps. But he gets his fun, don't forget.
Yes, I see your point. And what do you get in return?
Oh, things like pocket money, permission to go out, that sort of thing.
Your mother, does she still love him?
Yes, of course. At least they sleep together, if that's what you mean. So you see, Max got the pair of us. He's got no grounds for complaint, has he?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. That, without doubt, was a particularly crass example, which I did not relate in order to suggest that such relationships are common. I used it only to illustrate the fact that our daughters are today sexually mature, quite often at the early age of 13, though spiritually and psychologically very much later. And it can lead to such behavior, which in our youth would have been unimaginable.
Well, Angela, now say I exaggerated. It's Father Reitmeier. I made inquiries.
Fancy him being a pilot of God. Perhaps he feels safer up there.
I'll soon bring him down to earth. Stir up his hormones.
How?
In the confessional, I'll tell him some things that won't just make his hair stand up.
Shame that it's biologically out.
Stay here. I'm going to change.
What do you want to change for?
Angela, don't be so stupid. It's time he had some fun, too.
Heike, I tell you what. Leave your bra off.
Anyone coming?
No.
My mother wants me to go to confession regularly. Well, I'm obliging. I know something, though. If I wore this stuff at home, my father would kill me.
Come on.
Kneel down, Angela. Confessions begin at 5. Shouldn't be long now.
Play it cool, Heike.
Domini Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sanctus.
Amen. It's a month now, Father, since I made my confession. I've come to confess to a mortal sin.
Go on.
I'm not sure how to put it.
Just tell me in your own words.
I acted immorally.
Did you? With whom?
With a man, naturally.
What sort of man?
About 40-ish. At least I know he's not young. His 4 sons are grown up.
How did you sin with him?
I kissed him, Father. On his stomach. And this kissing him sort of made his sin go all, and one thing led to another.
Were you naked?
Of course I was naked, Father, completely naked. Then he took my breast in his hands. Then after that he pulled me towards him. And then we did it, of course. 8 positions in succession. And some days, when our mood's really right for it, it's even 10.
So much, so often?
Oh, well, I guess it must be all the experience I've had.
Is that all?
Well, surely that's enough.
No. You've not confessed yet to breaking the 11th commandment.
11th commandment? Is it something new or what?
As it doesn't in fact exist yet, we will have to create it specially for you.
But, Father, I don't understand.
Thou shalt not show off. I have no alternative but to stop this confession.
Why, Father, why?
Because you've lied. Therefore, I can't give absolution. This is no place for sick jokes. Come back when you're truly penitent.
I'm very sorry, Father. Come on, we're going. What's the matter? Come on, don't argue.
I presented this case to you in order to show you that the period of puberty in young girls can lead to actions which are beyond the imaginings of most adults. Please don't draw the conclusion that in the case of Heike, it is the beginning of moral decline. She considers her action as a successful prank with which to impress her girlfriends. Certainly nothing more. It's not to be expected that it will in any way influence her future.
Just in case you're interested, I was kept back a class last year. My father manages a large branch of one of the supermarkets. My mother's a housewife. It happens I'm the only child.
Mrs. Van Nuys? Ah, it's you, Mickey. Yes, she came in a few minutes ago. Just a moment. Susie? Susie! Telephone for you. Who is it? Mickey.
Hello? That sounds great. I might add that. Who have you invited besides? Peter, too? He can blast off to the moon for all I care. Mitzi and Kurtchen? Yes, we ought to have fun. No, not this afternoon. I have to go for coaching. No, Mickey, I can't truthfully. I can't drop it. She wouldn't allow it. I'll say ciao. Oh, and thanks for ringing.
What did Mickey want?
Oh, well, on Saturday afternoon, we all want to go over to the blow-up. It's cheaper then.
Absolutely out of the question, Susie.
Yes, but all the other girls are going.
We are not concerned with the others, only if you have to stay back again, you'll be dismissed from school.
I'm working.
Yes, but not nearly enough. Girls of your age should be concentrating on school.
I suppose I better go to my math coaching.
Yes, and that's another thing. I think we should deduct the cost of all those additional lessons from your pocket money. And leave some of those cherries for your father, please. I don't suppose you give a thought to what your laziness is costing Father and me. And just you come home as soon as you've finished. You hear, Susie?
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, by coordinating x by x to the power of a, alpha is defined as a function. If the exponents are fixed, we have what's known as a potential function.
What's that exactly?
Mathematics.
Meaning just what?
Don't lead me into temptation.
What sort of temptation?
To smack your little bottom.
Coward, are you?
Shut up, will you? What made you do that?
I wanted to see what it was like.
And now you know.
Not really, I don't. Gunther, tell me something. Have you ever had an affair with a woman, a real affair?
What's it got to do with you?
Quite a lot.
Of course I have. So have most guys.
In that case, you'd know about it.
What?
Oh, well, you know. The preliminary advances and so on.
Oh, sure. So what? Now, you listen to me, Lolita. If you imagine you can get around me, you're mistaken. If only... because that'd be misbehaving with one's charge.
But why? You're not in charge of me? You know, I think it was a super idea to have the lesson out in the fresh air.
I'm no longer so convinced of that.
Such things as flirting, kissing, embracing, and what is known as petting, are completely natural in the post-puberty period. Petting is an intimate physical contact, which, however, stops short of intercourse. Everything else, nevertheless, is allowed. Naturally, these first physical contacts originate less from love than from curiosity.
No, please don't. Please.
what our interviewer, Friedrich von Thun, found out on the subject of petting on the streets of Munich. You can hear for yourselves.
Excuse me, please. Can you tell me what petting is?
Yes, of course.
What is it?
Shall I say it's rather like laying your opponent on the mat without the final coup de grace?
Do you remember your first petting contact?
Yes, I think so, when I was 14. It was in the English garden. My boyfriend was nearly 22. I think we both went about as far as we dared. And, well, we both got a great deal of satisfaction from it. I think if we'd been inside somewhere, we'd have gone the whole way.
How old are you now?
18.
Have you a steady boyfriend?
Yes? No.
Why not?
I don't like the idea.
You don't? Have you ever had a steady boyfriend?
Gosh, why do you ask such intimate questions? I don't think it's right.
Tell me, do you think that the man should always make the first overtures for sexual contact?
Not necessarily.
How do you excite your husband or your boyfriend?
Oh, that's much too intimate a question to answer.
Well, it's really rather difficult. I think it depends on the situation. After all, I don't know quite how to answer that.
Do you have a steady boyfriend?
No.
Why not?
Well, I prefer to be independent.
Should a girl remain a virgin until she's married?
Well, I think really it depends on the girl. Now, I like the idea. Still, that's only my view.
If you're sexually aroused and you don't have a man, what do you do?
What does one do? Now, this I do like.
How about this then? It'd really suit you.
It looks a bit moth-eaten.
Moth's rubbish. That's cloth. I'd have it like a shot.
Why don't you then?
My father'd kill me if I were to wear something
My
like
old
that.
man doesn't mind. You really think so?
Yes.
Can I try this on then?
Well, of course, please do.
Oh, thanks.
Wouldn't you care to try one on too?
I'm afraid not, thank you.
Oh, well. Pity.
Does it fit?
Yes. You're right, it does have class. If my Otto saw me in this, he'd lay me in 30 seconds flat.
Otto, is he a steady?
Yeah, he's 24, with beard and car. Have you got a steady yet?
Not yet.
I understand. Your parents don't encourage it. I wouldn't wait too long or you'll get pimples on your face.
What should I do about it?
Well, go out and catch one, silly, or must you go and ask your father first?
You please stop poking at your food, Achim? What your mother cooks for us is good and nourishing. What grade did you get for your Latin paper?
4.
A disappointing result.
I don't think so, Dad. 4 is sufficient.
Well, the best of luck. If you're always satisfied with a mere sufficient, you won't get far, my boy.
I don't think it follows. Look at Bismarck. He failed twice and he was okay. And Einstein was regarded as a semi-idiot in his first school.
What the devil's that got to do with Achim's damn laziness? You know well enough what I meant. I tell you, there'd be no butter on your bread today if I hadn't kept my nose to the grindstone.
So I'll eat margarine.
Egon, really?
That switch, I must. You slapped my face for what Achim said.
Hold your tongue, my girl. You asked for it. You laughed at him.
Can't one laugh any longer?
How dare you?
Please, Egon.
Thank you. I have no appetite after that.
Father and Mother live in a vacuum. They don't know anything about me. When will they finally realize that I'm not a child any longer? I'm forbidden to go out like other girls do. I'm not allowed to do anything exciting. They'd prefer me undeveloped. They'd have me dressed in rompers and playing in a sandpit till I was old and shriveled.
Don't ever do that disgusting thing again, do you hear me? Because if you do, I warn you, you'll be ill for the rest of your life. I'd have thought at the very least that your sense of self-respect would have stopped you. What on earth were you thinking about? What do you think your father would do if I told him? I would dearly like to know where you learned such a thing.
Mrs. Holmes, of course, does everything wrong that a mother in such a situation can do wrong. After all, it is not masturbation that would make Elizabeth ill, but the old-fashioned educational methods of her mother. We have to understand that today even the churches accept it as a natural outlet for the sexual overpressure of pubertal development.
Erotically excited and you don't have a man, what do you do?
Oh, then one can always have recourse to masturbation.
Excuse me, please, may I ask you a few questions? What do you think of masturbation?
Well, what should I think of it anyhow? I think one does what one likes.
Do you masturbate?
Every so often.
At what age did you begin?
20.
Not until 20? What gave you the idea?
Oh, a film.
Called The Silence?
Yes, it could have been that.
And how often do you masturbate?
Just the odd occasion.
Have you a boyfriend?
Not right now.
When you have a boyfriend, do you masturbate then?
Sure.
If you haven't a steady boyfriend,
Well, go on.
do you masturbate?
Why not?
How often do you do it?
Oh, I don't know, whenever I'm in the mood.
Excuse me, may I ask you something?
No.
What do you think of masturbation?
Nothing.
Excuse me, may I ask you something?
Yes.
Do you masturbate?
Yes.
Since when?
I'd say I was about 5 or 6 or something like that.
What gave you the idea for it?
Oh, that was sliding on the banisters. It was an enjoyable sensation.
How old were you when you started it?
Well, not till after I got married.
And how old were you?
How old? Oh, well, I was just turned 23.
Do you do it often?
I've no need for that sort of thing. Who would when they have a husband?
Does your conscience trouble you?
No, after all, why should it? No, it doesn't.
Shell, I'm 18 years old. I go to a high school. I'm taking my exams this year.
Have you any special problems?
No, not that I know. Either at school or privately.
And will you eventually marry?
Ah, you mean because I'm acting as a babysitter? Oh, I'm just doing my sister a good turn. Over there, the kid in blue rompers, he says.
Ah.
But yes, I would like to get married. Of course, I shall finish my studies first, by which time I'll be about 23. Also, I should like children. 1, 2, or 4.
Why not 3?
Oh, something I read somewhere. 3 quarrel more than 2 or 4.
Ah, until then?
Oh, well, there's the pill.
So it's easy to get, is it?
Oh, yes, I go to my sister's doctor. No trouble at all.
Would you talk to me about your sex life?
If it can help the cause of science, yes. Fire away. I don't necessarily have to answer.
When you first had intercourse, how old were you?
14.
And were you seduced?
No, not at all. In fact, it was quite an effort trying to persuade him into it. He was 18. It was sheer curiosity. I loved it. And I've enjoyed it ever since. My present boyfriend at a party, and that was 5 months ago. Since then, I've stopped shuttling back and forth. He's a swell guy. Oh, about 22. Going to be a book dealer one day.
So you haven't the same urge to change partners so frequently?
No, I haven't. Not so far, at least. It's quite simple, in fact. I need to unwind, and I find that's the best way to do so. So if a man's willing, and if I like him as well, then I stay faithful. Why not? Oh, goodness me. Well, I mean, you don't think I'm a case for psychiatrist.
Hardly. You don't need to worry on that score.
Do you think that sex is only possible when you're in love?
No.
Oh, you think it can be fun without it?
Yes.
Can you imagine yourself earning money by prostitution?
Well, yes.
You can.
But for no less than 200 marks.
So you think sexual contact is only permissible in love?
Yes, only then.
But...
For me, yes, I'm afraid so. Oh, well, I would think it's possible, yes, but there's surely a great difference. with regard to a relationship with love and one without.
Can you
I suppose it is possible, maybe.
Can you imagine you could earn money by prostitution?
No, I can't.
Do you think there are certain limits then?
I should think so.
Would you tell me, at what age do you think a girl should be allowed to have a sexual relationship?
I believe that depends on the girl's maturity.
Uh-huh.
I would think about 16 upwards.
At what age did you first sleep with a man?
Around 16.
Can you imagine yourself sleeping with a man for money?
I couldn't do that, of course not. But, well, I'm fully aware that plenty of girls do, unfortunately.
But what happens when girls are physically mature, yet psychologically not able to cope with their sexual urges and imaginings? They cause themselves, and more often others, unhappiness and worse. The case shown here happened in a large German town.
Why are you pulling such a face, Karen?
Oh, I was thinking of my essay. You ought to see the subjects the old fool thinks up for us.
Well, what's the latest one?
Joan's great conflict of conscience.
What Joan's this?
Oh, Joan of Arc.
By Schiller. I'm sure I've made a complete mess of it. Less than a D and I'll be kicked out. She never did like me anyway.
Hey, Paul, get an eyeful of that.
Since when do you go for green stuff? Much too strenuous. I prefer mine nicely seasoned.
Very funny. Here comes Tarzan.
Boy, he'd really be worth a sin.
For him, I'd be available any time you like.
What, him? I bet he's after bigger fish, preferably some old bag with a checkbook.
Think so? Well, there's one way to find out, and that's to put it to the test.
Let's turn him on good and strong.
But how? I ask you, really.
How? Haven't you heard of striptease, you little ninny?
Do you see what I see? He's coming this way. Shall we?
Only if we all do it together.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hey, you can't do that.
What's that?
You can't go topless here.
And how on earth do we girls get brown without?
At home if you must. Here it's against the rules.
And where does it say so?
On the board at the entrance. Look, kids, do me a favor, will you? I don't want any trouble. Get your tops back on or I'll have to throw you out.
I do believe he means it.
Hey, now, please, don't misunderstand, but rules have got to be observed. Personally, I couldn't care less.
You really don't care?
Be reasonable, kids. Get them covered up, will you? Now, I've seen nothing, and when I come back, I don't want to see anything then, either. Now, I hope that's clear.
I'll shrink him down to size.
Go on, you wouldn't dare.
Right. Like to bet on it?
But didn't you notice he's scared stiff of the authority?
Rubbish. I'll get round him. Give me a hair grip from your purse.
What do you want it for?
You'll find out.
I bet.
Oh, what's happened?
Have you a plaster or bandage or something of that sort?
What do you want it for?
Oh, I've cut myself on a glass splinter. The ground's littered with them. That's what you really should be looking round for, not topless girls. It could well develop into blood poisoning for all I know, with all the germs that must be around.
Well?
Well, look at it. Look, here. Well, come on, or am I to bleed to death?
Don't worry. I'll give you something. Here.
No, please, you do it. I can't stand the sight of blood. And use lots of iodine. We don't want it to go septic on us.
Just a second.
Ow!
I'll put a plaster on it. Done.
Okay, now what about compensation?
What are you saying?
On account of your carelessness.
You must be crazy.
I'll make you a nice, friendly proposition. What do you say letting us in again later tonight? Me and two friends. I mean after you're closed. Just so we can have that floor all to ourselves.
I can't. I'm not allowed to.
Oh, come on now. We could look around for broken glass if that helps you.
Like I said, I'm not allowed.
Still, it's rather a special occasion.
Well, man, no one sees you or I'll lose my job.
Don't worry. Hey, what's your name?
Theo. Yours?
Margaret Curran, and I'm Claudia.
How old are you, anyway?
44.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm a Methuselah.
I meant altogether. I'll leave you to divide it up.
And if I did, there'd be nothing left.
Don't you be so sure.
Go on, you can base as long as you like, as far as I'm concerned, but no noise,
Have you got a few towels for us? We weren't invited to bring any to this party.
I can't get this off.
Twerp, I'll give you a hand.
Oh, easy, you'll split it. Oh. Hey, you two, he's looking out the window. He's welcome.
I bet he doesn't stay there for long.
Look out, he's coming.
Well, what's the matter with you? Why don't you get undressed?
Well, I've changed my mind. I'm not going through with it. See you.
Oh, she's chickened out, the little prude.
You'd better apply to join a convent.
Hey, you two, are you crazy? Suppose someone sees you. That wasn't in the agreement. Now, come on, quick, out of there. No, wait. I'll put the towels here for you. And if you're not out and gone in 5 minutes, then I'll get the police.
Go on, get the police. Yes, go on, Theo. Cuckoo, I'll bet you wouldn't dare.
Hey, I let go, you idiot. Look, cut it out, will you?
Oh. You're always so cold, or is it the water?
Cut it out, you hear?
Claudia, with the bath attendant of all people, how could you do this to us?
But I can't tell you. I don't know myself, Mommy. Oh, I'm so frightened. Do you think I'm pregnant?
A baby at your age, at 15, but you're still only a child yourself. My God, we must go to the doctor at once.
Yes, please, Mommy. And if I am, then he must take it away. He must. Please, I don't want a baby.
Oh, the swine. And it's all his fault, all of it. He'll pay dearly for this, I can tell you. What a terrible ordeal you've had, you poor little girl. I must telephone your father.
Oh, no, please don't, Mommy. Please don't do that.
Yes, but listen to me, dear. Your father just has to be told about it. This man must be punished for what he's done. You aren't even 16 yet. The man is a criminal. And the girl who was with you, what happened to her? Did he do...
No, only me, Mommy. Well, he didn't do the whole thing with her. Or at least he did, only not in the same way.
I've never heard of anything so scandalous, so bestial. But what I don't understand is why you...
Oh, I told you, I don't know why.
He should be shot. Shot, I say.
In the name of the people, the accused, Theodor Baudis, by profession a bath attendant, born 11th of May 1945 in Salzburg, is sentenced to 3 months' imprisonment, having been found guilty of an offense against paragraph 182 of the Penal Code. The sentence is subject to appeal.
The sentence is passed. Passed by a judge who is responsible only to his own conscience, but who nevertheless is forced to apply laws which originate from a time when the young girl was unable to act for herself and was expected to remain a virgin until she was married.
Do you find it right that when a girl, 15 or so, is involved in a relationship with a man, that this man who enters in the relationship should be prosecuted under the law?
Yes, I do. I think for the reason that a girl of 15 is too young. It's hard to say exactly the age, but 15, yes, that's simply too young for it. A girl's mind's developing the whole time.
So that one doesn't react in at all the same way when you're 15 as when you're 16. Even 17 isn't as old as I'd like.
Oh, if I'd been judging it, it would have depended on the girl if she objected or not. And if she didn't, oh, it's a ridiculous verdict.
No, I don't. Travesty of justice. Well, why, she led him on. Of course, I've seen it. It's not right. Anyhow, it always takes two, doesn't it? I think it was right.
Except that she's at least partly responsible. After all, I'm sure quite a lot does depend on the girl.
What do you mean, in fact, is who tempted whom? And I'm willing to bet the Eternal Eve did.
If she wants to bed down with the fellow, you can't blame him for letting her. Be an idiot if he kicked her out, now wouldn't he?
To start with, I think that one should avoid being too personal. Comment should be objective. Which leads one to ask, was the man simply doing it to satisfy his lust? Or could he have done it because the girl was behaving in such a fashion so as to make it, to make it impossible for this man to resist the temptation? Or she may have acted older than her age.
Oh, I think that possibly she was not altogether innocent. I mean, if she consents, it's not only the man who's guilty.
Hermer and I, well, honestly, we're a couple of little show-offs sex-wise. We can excite the boys pretty well to boiling point. Our classmates think we're so experienced, when in fact we still haven't a clue. Rich, isn't it? I hope these boys are as green as we are.
What's the matter with you? What are you dawdling for? Trying to chicken out of it?
Of course not. What gave you that idea?
Well, come on then. These boys certainly won't wait all day for us.
Oh, gosh. So they've actually come.
Well? Hey, and where are you going?
I forgot I need some water. My feet are filthy. No girl would want to.
Don't talk so bloody stupid. What's your feet got to do with it so long as the rest of you's up to the mark? Anyhow, we don't do no undressing. Only the birds, okay?
Sure, Carl. Shouldn't we just scram out of here? There's still time, see? I've never done it before.
You think I have? That's no reason to turn our cowardly tails and run.
I almost forgot. I once read that if a man gets too excited first, then it'd be a terrible thing to happen first go, wouldn't it?
Nonsense. We just jump them like a couple of lions. And those two birds could set an iceberg alight. I'm telling you, what we lack in experience, they'll more than make up for.
I hope so. A good outlook, isn't it?
Well, what are you waiting for? Let's get on with it.
Surely not all together.
What do you think?
What have we walked into?
All right. What's the next move?
Well, someone's got to get it started. Come on, sister. Let's have your things off. Okay, take them off yourself. That way they can't say we started the business.
The business being?
I mean, if you girls don't want to... Yes or no? It's what you came for, isn't it?
Hey, you're not leaving.
I can't very well now, can I?
Your name?
Hannah Laura. Do you think it's an attractive name?
Not nearly so attractive as these.
one reach an orgasm, you clot?
How old were you when you first slept with a man?
I was 18.
And how old was the man?
23.
In your opinion, at what age should a young girl first have a sexual relationship?
It's a personal thing which is best left entirely to one's own choice.
Would you be prepared to go to bed with a man who appealed to you just like that?
Yes. If he really appeals to you.
Even if you don't love him?
You mean his appearance, that sort of thing? If he has a good physique, like a film star or sportsman, you know? If I had no reason to dislike the fellow, why not?
I see.
Yes.
Do you take the pill?
Yes.
What do you do in order not to forget to take the pill regularly?
Oh, it's become second nature. I've been on it for ages.
Thank you. Have you a boyfriend?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How old is your friend?
My friend is nearly 20.
Tell me, does he correspond to the ideal man, your dream of the ideal?
I wouldn't say he was quite my ideal.
Well, what is your conception of the ideal man?
My ideal, physically or spiritually?
You distinguish that, do you?
Yes, actually I do.
Suppose we take physical qualities first.
Physical? He should be tall, black-haired and brown-eyed. An outdoor sort of look. Good at athletics or sport. Herman's not like that. He's blonde and short. Really quite ordinary.
And spiritually?
Oh, well, he should be thoughtful and polite. Not just out for what he can get, like a lot of today's boys.
I see.
I don't...
Could a Negro qualify?
A Negro? I don't see why not.
What about such as money and virility?
Money and virility? Yes, money does come into it, unfortunately. And virility, well, I imagine that too.
When did you sleep with a man for the first time?
Good heavens, that's a little indiscreet.
Do you think that a girl should remain a virgin till the day of her marriage?
No.
Tell me why not?
Why should she have to wait so long?
When you first slept with a man, how old were you?
16 and a half.
Do you think that a girl should remain a virgin until the day of her marriage?
Well, I wouldn't like to say every girl, not me, for instance.
What age were you when you first slept with a man?
I think I was 16.
I think that's really something one has to decide oneself. I think there's really a lot to be said for waiting till you're married. I don't know whether it's generally agreed.
Is it a good thing? Personally, I think it's like planning a vacation, rather. Looking forward is half of the fun, isn't it?
Well, if she has her fling beforehand, then I would imagine she'd be less likely to want variety and look around for it with other men, I mean.
I'd prefer to think I had at least some, because otherwise I'd feel rather foolish.
How old are you?
16.
Well, tell me then, in your opinion, at what age should a girl first sleep with a man?
I think it depends on the individual, at what age she matures. Certainly not before 18, I suppose.
If you like a man, would you sleep with him just like that?
Yes, why not? I mean, if I waste a lot of time talking, it's silly.
When did you last sleep with a man?
Oh, 3 weeks ago.
When you don't sleep with a man, do you masturbate?
No.
Why is it so long since you slept with a man?
Oh, tricky. Don't think I better say.
Why?
Can I?
Please.
Well, I caught VT in Frankfurt.
Thank you.
Our daughters today are far more emancipated than their mothers ever dreamed of being. They practice, or think they practice, the equality of the sexes. They truly believe men and women to be equal in their capabilities, their achievements, their demands. However, the slogan of the equality of the sexes can degenerate to abuse. It can even lead to direct sexual aggressiveness on the part of the woman. A situation which, in earlier days, would have been unthinkable. Enough for now, girls. Get changed and you can leave. you mind telling me what you're doing, Marlene? After I gave you the opportunity to go?
I thought I might stay and do some extra PT. After all, it's good for the breast muscles, isn't it, huh?
Your abdominal muscles, too, they can also be strengthened. If you do it correctly.
In that case, then why don't you show me?
Now then, not so rigid in the small of your back. And keep the legs as close together as possible.
Gosh, it's really far too strenuous for me, I'm afraid. It's much easier for men to keep their legs together.
Yes, I'm sure. Now that'll do. Get along home. Marlene, I said run along. What do you want here?
You know enough what I want. You're scared, is that it?
May I ask you something? What's your ideal man look like?
I haven't got an ideal man. I don't need one.
Haven't you got a boyfriend?
Yes?
How old is he?
19.
Can you see yourself ever sleeping with someone older?
It depends on how old.
Let's say with your PE instructor.
No, certainly not. No, not when I've got a boyfriend.
Can you imagine yourself sleeping with your PE instructor?
That's the end. Good God, no.
Going to bed,
No.
having sex?
No, no.
Now you have a boyfriend?
Yes.
Does he measure up to your idea of the ideal man?
Well, at least not yet.
What about such attributes as money and virility?
Money, gosh. It's nice, naturally, when a man has that. And virile, my gosh, I haven't yet met anyone who's impotent. I can't tell you about that.
Oh, money isn't always the main consideration.
If you like a man, then would you sleep with him just like that?
Not right away.
Do you think that you shouldn't have intercourse except when you're in love?
Yes, I think so.
Well, that's how it should be, isn't it?
But you don't think it's strictly necessary?
I wouldn't like to say.
Do you think that the initiative for making love should only ever come from the man?
Not altogether. The woman's role isn't just passive. I think that one should be just as involved as the other.
Can you imagine, for instance, what initiative you would take?
Yes, since we're all Eves at heart.
My gosh, now you've really set me a problem. I find it difficult to say.
Do you think that in every case it should always be the man who makes the first moves?
I suppose the woman can. Depends what she's like.
Well, what would you do if it was you?
Leave it to the man. That's me. I'm no good at making advances.
How old are you, Lilo?
As if you don't already know.
Sure, but do you? Because that's what I'm trying to find out.
Don't let's start that again.
Start? When have I ever stopped?
Well, have it your own way. I'm 18 years and 4 months, baptized and reared in the Protestant faith. I'm in the 6th grade at the Marian Stift. I've got a grade A in music and art, and I've no intention whatever of sleeping with you. Is that clear?
Yeah, crystal clear.
So then it's all okay.
Nothing's okay, because I'm tired of being kept dangling on a bit of string.
That's not fair. What are you so mad about? Just because I don't want to sleep with you.
Just because you won't sleep with me, Lilo. You've known me for long enough.
3 weeks.
So what? That's an eternity.
For you, perhaps, but not for me. And anyway, I don't want to be expelled like Renate before I finish the
Look,
course.
will you cool it? I've had enough. Enough and more. I don't care what you want. Just leave me in peace.
Meaning I should leave?
Please yourself. You don't seem to give a damn what I want anyway. I'll pay for it.
I don't want to be blackmailed.
Pretty little bitch.
Sad way to end it. How would you react in that situation?
Oh, I'd have gone home with him, but then we're not all alike, are we? I was around 18 too when I was asked. Oh, I was scared, of course. Anyhow, the boyfriend took me to his flat. I remember thinking to myself, if not tonight, it will happen to you sooner or later. I had a fair amount of pain and got nothing. But that's all changed now, and today I'm sorry I didn't start much earlier.
I was 15 and a half when I first did it. I did it with my last petting partner in the English garden. We both wanted it, and we had thoroughly discussed it all beforehand. I could say I was sorry about it, except that that wouldn't be true. I know I didn't enjoy it much. I admit that was because I was frightened to death all the time that someone would surprise us. Still, I guess we all have a few inhibitions.
But don't you think it's a little young, 15 and a half?
Should I?
How old are you now?
17.
How about coming home later?
Got anything to drink?
Yes, there's half a bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
Why does everyone make so much fuss about a natural instinct? Well, honestly, nobody's going to dictate to me what I do. But then I'm a tough bird. Oh, sure, I was curious like a lot of the other birds. We had a real wave up. The boyfriend, he rated top marks for experience. I was lucky that way. It wasn't just simply the come on, doll, let's get it over with business. Naturally, I'd already had quite a number of petting contacts. I guess that helped to take the sting out of that first encounter. Anyway, what the hell does it matter? It was a long time ago. I was just about 17 and a half years old.
And today, do you think it was really the right age?
Yes.
Were you in love with him?
Oh, come on, you aren't that naive. What love got to do with that?
Come on now, what's the matter? Like to tell me?
William, I don't know what to do. Axel wants to go all the way.
And you don't?
It's not exactly that, but...
Well, then why not go ahead?
I'm scared.
Oh, go on, don't be ridiculous.
It's easy for you to talk. I'm not on the pill even yet.
So what? Then it's up to Axel to take some precautions, isn't it? But you really ought to go on the pill, Lilo. It's simpler. And with that worry off your mind, you can enjoy yourself anytime you want. Still, it's up to you, Lilo. Please yourself.
Yes, I suppose so.
I'll tell you something, though. I'm glad these aren't the Middle Ages when a girl was supposed to remain a virgin till her wedding day. I know I'd be burned at the stake or tarred and feathered.
You know, I'm not even sure if he's the right one for me yet.
The right one? That's got nothing to do with it. The great love in your life, that comes later. Right now, we're talking about sex.
Yes, but Ian, surely that and love is what one marries for. Otherwise, I don't think I want it.
Where do you get that idea? It's nothing but a load of old-fashioned hearts and flowers romancing. I mean, you don't come via love to sex. It's generally via sex to love. Look, Lilo, it's something like football. Take Pele. He's in training every day, yet he plays in the World Championship only once in 4 years.
Well, you sound as though you've done a fair amount of training, too.
Well, thanks. Enough to know what I'm talking about. In fact, my training began 3 years back when a man nearly succeeded in raping me. It was in Frankfurt before he decided to move here. Thank God I knew a thing or two about it. Naturally, I'd had a few boyfriends, so of course I learned quite a bit from petting and so on.
How old were you when it happened?
I was just on 15. In fact, I can still see it now. A very hot, sticky day. So I decided to ask a friend for a swim. My parents were all so delighted when I was with this particular girlfriend. They thought her home so imposing. I remember them saying so often, when she's there, she's in good hands. That was the biggest joke of all. Her father came to say his daughter was unfortunately out. If you would wait, he said, she won't be long. Meanwhile, I'll keep you company, so you're not bored. Suddenly, he grabbed hold of me and kissed me. If he hadn't behaved so stupidly, maybe I wouldn't have resisted so violently. Because I'd heard it said that mature men were quite something when it came to that. But by force.
And did he?
Of course not. No man can rape a woman if the woman is really determined against it. Unless, of course, he has a gun or drugs her or something like that. But otherwise,
Did you report the pig?
No. That would have caused trouble for my friend. And it really wasn't her fault. Besides, it would have meant going over the whole thing again for the police. And once it's public, however innocent you are, I think a little of it rubs off on you.
If your parents ask you where your dress is torn,
You just tell him you had a fight with my daughter. Understand?
It must have been a terrible shock for you.
A shock? No, I'm not shrinking violet. Anyway, one reads about it often enough to know there is such a thing. Still, it was a slightly funny feeling. It did have some after effects, now I think of it. At school, I suddenly had one low grade after another. That was probably part of the reason my parents decided to move from Frankfurt. I remember I used to attend a ballet class in Frankfurt. The usual reason, you know, charm and grace. Well, in Munich I carried on. Demi-pliés, all that. Well, that's why I met up with Ingrid. You know how it is. When you come to a strange town, you naturally look round for companionship. That companionship certainly wasn't at all what I planned. That little episode over, I met this Bert. He was a proud 17. He lived with his grandmother. He was a quiet boy. In fact, without a little encouragement, he'd never have dared to ask such a thing of me. He'd never had a girlfriend. It made me feel quite a little sex bomb. We'd arranged everything beforehand. Bert had polished off a bottle of red wine to help drink himself into a courageous mood. He'd even found an old record player to carry on the good work. He decided we'd each undress ourselves. And then we were together.
What was it like?
Bearable, but there was no pleasure in it. If I were you, I wouldn't expect too much from it. As far as I was concerned, I felt discontented, sort of flat. It was a long way from being what I'd imagined. It was a real failure. I went home. That encounter with Bert was much too short. I was restless. I tried to read, to distract myself, without success. Then it dawned. I knew what was lacking, a sense of fulfillment. maybe I was unlucky. It does happen, you know.
Do you still have the same boyfriend?
No, it was just a 9 days wonder. We soon drifted apart.
And now?
Now I have Robbie. He's 28. Works for a building contractor. Quite an important job.
The great love?
Perhaps.
Tell me, how often do you see him?
Sometimes every day, and then maybe not for weeks. You see, he often works away.
Do your parents know about your friend?
As if I tell those two anything. Do you know, they still pretend I'm the little darling who was brought to them by the stork. Can you imagine me telling them I go to bed with Rob? That's Robbie. I'll have to go now. See you later. Have fun. You know what I mean. Don't let that Romeo of yours go sour on you.
Good evening, Mrs. Friedman.
Lilo, come along in, child.
Is Mr. Erickson in?
Not right now. He's just gone out. Oh, now, don't you worry. He won't be long. He's just gone to mail a letter. He'll soon be back. I especially asked if he'd be in tonight, because you see, this evening I'm going to the opera, and you know what they say about burglars and empty houses.
Then may I wait? I've just got to speak to him. We've had a fearful row.
Yes, I know that.
Did he tell you what it was?
Oh, child, after all, why should young people's quarrels concern an old woman like me? Of course you can wait, my dear. You can wait in his room. Now, do make yourself nice and comfy. Yes, and, well, I hope you two can make it up and be friends again, dear. Now, I really must leave you, otherwise I'm going to be extremely late. And I do hate to miss the overture. So often it's the nicest part of it. Ah, yes, Lilo, I'm sure you'll understand. No lady visitors stay after 10 o'clock. I shall rely on you, of course, because I'm not likely to be back much before midnight. Be a good girl now. Good night, my dear. Good night.
Good night. And thank you, Mrs. Friedman.
You? This certainly is a surprise.
Isn't it?
Well, that's as may be, Dr. Bernauer. Nevertheless, they're isolated cases.
Oh, come. Are you trying to imply that the youth of today are all corrupt and easygoing?
I really don't think you understand. Sexuality as such is not evil or corrupt, as you say. It's a very natural instinct born into every human being.
Wait now. These observations of yours, what you're saying, they're actually valid for all young girls?
Absolutely. No, naturally not all. Anyway, it's not the issue here. What we have to realize is this, that most young girls are maturing earlier today, as we all know. That they are still schoolgirls is unfortunate. Yet that is no reason for us to condemn them, much less to punish them. If I might interrupt, I think we should consider very seriously what Dr. Bernauer has told us.
My dear chap, where would that get us?
Sir, I venture to suggest it might at least enable us all to help our daughters. There's absolutely no doubt that schoolgirls not only have their sexual fancies, for many they are turned into reality. And if you ask what you can do about it, stop being hypocrites. Open your eyes and face up to the facts.
And as to what attitude to adopt towards my daughter, I haven't the vaguest notion.
Exercise tolerance. Don't be overcritical. And dismiss old-fashioned misconceptions you might have about your modern daughter.
It's easy to say that, but she isn't your daughter.
Agreed, but nevertheless my remarks are still just as relevant. That I'm a parent too might help to convince you.
Most illuminating, Dr. Bernauer. And now I'm sure the Parents' Council will wish to get back to the subject of Renata. Should we expel her from the school or not?
Since Dr. Bernauer has presumed to take over the education of your daughters, or so it seems to me, I think it would be better if I take my leave. Goodbye.
My God, how much longer they're going to be yapping up there? Watch it, here comes the old maid.
Good gracious, school was finished long ago. Why are you hanging about?
We're waiting for our parents, Dr. Vogt.
Will it last much longer?
If I had my way, it wouldn't even have started.
Good evening, Dr. Vogt. Have you heard anything yet?
No, but did you see the look on old Falk's face? Silly old fool.
Old cow is more like it. Do you think your father will convince them? I hope he can.
My dear parents, we really must close the discussion.
Might I suggest we vote on it? I myself take the view that the girl should remain at school.
I'm against that. It sickens me to think that my child should be in daily contact with a little whore like her.
Your daughter should ever be in the same situation?
My daughter would never do that.
How can you be so sure?
I can leave like Dr. Vogt. Then there'll be one vote less against Renata.
May I say that I hope at least it gives you cause to wonder why sexual taboos are constantly maintained in the homes of German parents.
If you're all agreeable, we'll vote on it. Those who feel she should remain?
I still have my doubts about it, but I wouldn't like to be betrothed by having thrown the first stone at the girl.
Well, I'm not exactly a monster. I'll go along with that.
My dear parents, it remains for me to thank you for a decision with which I most sincerely agree. I'm sure your opinion will be shared by the staff. Thank you.
I must admit to having some reservations about it.
Then why not voice them at the meeting?
One doesn't want to be considered old-fashioned, does one?
Understand. Yes, I see.
Well, Daddy?
All clear.
Did you hear Renata?
That's right.
Was it tough?
No one likes hearing the truth.
No one likes hearing the truth. But it's the truth we want.